Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, the Playmaker Darnell Dallas, and I'm here to let you know that the NFL podcast is back and we are ready to talk and preview all 8 of the NFL divisions. Today is all about the East. We're going to start it off with the AFC East with Gabriel from Unfiltered Access, and then we're going to take a break. We're going to close it out with the NFC East with returning number brother Ken Moore. Me and Dallas is here. We're going to talk about the Patriots, the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Bills with Gabriel. Then we're going to switch over to with Ken, and we're going to talk about them Cowboys, them Eagles, them Giants, and them Redskins. It's the NFL, and it's back, baby. So let's talk some football.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are here. We are back to talk some NFL football. It's been a long time. It's been a long off season, especially for me. But we're here. It's your boy, the Playmaker Darnell Dallas. As we get ready to dive into these division previews, Dallas Glenn is on the other side of me. How's it going, my brother?
It's going good. I applaud you for not being like T and eating this pill like a man.
And with me is somebody who did college basketball with me and the NBA with me from Unfiltered Access. Gabriel, how's it going?
I'm doing good, my man. It's a little rainy over here in New York, so I'm glad I'm inside right now.
Don't feel bad. It's been raining for like the past month here in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just glad football season is coming up, though. So let's go and keep my spirits warm.
But hey, it is August, which means it's preseason football, which means we get to preview all 8 divisions of the NFL. Today is all about the East, and we're going to begin with the AFC East. And without further ado, Dallas, remind the people who are the defending champs.
The New England Patriots. And if my memory serves me correctly, they beat the NFC West champions, the Los Angeles Rams.
I've been sitting on that for the longest. But there's nothing I can do. The AFC East is the home of the Super Bowl champs, the AFC champs, and the AFC East champs, the New England Patriots. Tom Brady going on 42, had his birthday a couple of days ago. No Grunt this year. We'll see how that works out. So, but Gabriel has written an article on the AFC East. Gabriel, we're going to give you first crack of previewing it in the AFC East.
So, yeah, as you said, this division has historically, for the past 20 years, been owned by Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. So, it should be no surprise to anyone that the Patriots were last year's Super Bowl champions, considering how much experience they have. And carrying that into this year, I think that they will be the repeat champions of the AFC East. But I do think that other teams in the AFC East will improve, and that the window for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick's domination in the AFC East is going to close in the near future. Hopefully within the next 1 or 2 seasons. As a Jets fan myself, I've been waiting for the past 15, 20 years, and it hasn't happened yet. But listen, Father Time's got to catch up at some point. But I think this year it should still be the Patriots division. But I see the Jets and Bills making significant improvements from last year. Based around their teams, and I do think that the Dolphins will actually be a competitive team, and they're always competitive against the Patriots every year. So it shouldn't be a cakewalk this year, as it is in many years past, because the Jets really improved their offense with Le'Veon Bell, Sam Darnold coming into his second year, and a really good defense to boot. And the Buffalo Bills also have a lot of talent on their team, and another good young quarterback in Josh Allen. And who knows? Maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick can string together some 5-6 games of Fitzmagic to keep the Dolphins in the picture a little bit. But I think this is going to be a really intriguing division that, historically has gone to the Patriots and most likely will again this year, but it'll be much harder than it has in previous years.
Dallas, what you take on what Gabriel had to say?
I mean, he said pretty much what everybody else is going to say. He just said it in a much more academic and a much nicer way. I mean, so far, the only thing I really don't agree with is that Miami is going to be competitive. I think right now, the front office is really in a rebuilding mode. I think Stephen Ross has really focused on, hey, if we're middle of the pack, great, but that's not even what we're aiming for. He said right after the season, before Brian Flores was hired, that the Miami Dolphins are trying to do this the long and slow way. They've been, the whole division, not just them, but the whole division has been dominated for over a decade by one team. And a lot of people have forgotten at this point just how long the New England Patriots were down in the tubes before they went on this run. Stephen Ross is trying to make sure the Miami Dolphins can at least have a chance to do that. That being said, I mean, they have a former – what was Josh Rosen taking, like top 3? They have like a former top 3, top 10 pick in Josh Rosen.
That top 10.
Yeah, I think he was number 10.
Okay, cool. He was the top 10 pick that right now they're not even looking to start. From what's coming out of Miami and all the Miami blogs and everything, really right now it's Fitzpatrick's job to lose. And even then, he's got a long way from losing it. So they're going with the veteran who hasn't really put together a 16-game season on a consistent basis. He'll play all 16 games, but where are they going to be at the end of the season? Miami is in that kind of mindset. That being said, I mean, right now, the number 2 team in this division is looking like the New York Jets. The only problem is, as soon as Adam Gase got to be GM for like 3 weeks or so, it came out that he didn't want Le'Veon Bell. Okay, fine, that's cool, but Le'Veon Bell is one of the best weapons in the league, and he just had a year off. That's 400 touches he didn't have. The New York Jets, the last time they were like really, really, really relevant, they ran the ball a lot, and they didn't make their young quarterback, Mark Sanchez, have to do it all himself. They had a great defense, and they leaned on that defense, and now you just picked one of the best defensive players in the draft, maybe the best defensive player in the draft, and Quinnen Williams at number 3 because you couldn't trade out. And now you're basically saying you want to do the exact opposite, or you don't want to do what your roster says for you to do. I don't get it because I always thought that Adam Gase was more of a West Coast offense style head coach, but he has the best receiving back in the league, and he didn't want him. Don't really get how that works. Don't really get how that dynamic is going to be. But, I mean, that's the number 2 team in the division right now. They have a running back by committee in Buffalo, and they have a young quarterback who is going through the same things as Lamar Jackson right now. They don't know how he's going to develop as a passer, but they do know that he is a very, very talented runner of the football. You can't do that long term with a quarterback in the NFL. Even if you decide to create a spread offense that may be able to work long term in the NFL like the Panthers did. Either way, it's the Patriots' division to lose. But like a lot of stuff would actually have to happen in favor of the other 3 teams for them to even have a shot of losing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you that it is definitely the Patriots' division to lose. But I do, and I also agree with you that the Jets are going to be the second best team in the division. But I do think that bringing in Joe Douglas was really big for the Jets and having stability within the franchise. Because, yes, the whole Adam Gase, Le'Veon Bell dynamic at first, not too good, considering you're bringing in this new piece. And he didn't have a running back like Le'Veon to work with, really, during his time with the Broncos or the Dolphins. However, I do think that now that we're about to move on to the season, that hopefully that will be water under the bridge, and that Sam Darnold's play can – that if Sam Darnold's play can elevate, as a lot of people think that it will during his second year with this new set of weapons, that they'll be very set, and that Le'Veon Bell will be fine with his touches. But even if the Jets click on all cylinders, I don't see how they can overtake the Patriots in this division. just considering that Tom Brady is still there, Bill Belichick is still there. They just drafted N'Keal Harry, who I think is probably the best young wide receiver talent in that draft. And even though they don't have Gronkowski anymore, they still have a plethora of weapons, and Josh Gordon is probably going to be coming back too. I just don't see how the Patriots can lose this division. But if any team were to rise up and snatch it for them, I do think it's the Jets. The Bills are just a year or two away, and Josh Allen is not that refined of a pocket passer yet, but they should be good as well too. And listen, about the Dolphins, the reason why I think that they might be somewhat competitive in, a sort of 7-9, 8-8 range is because they're going to be starting Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he has a lot of experience going in and producing some good results in the beginning for his team. And I'm not saying that they'll be able to carry that throughout the rest of the season, but perhaps he'll be able to just give a little bit enough of that veteran expertise for a very young rebuilding team to help them keep in the hunt. So I do think that it's going to be much more of a slog for the Patriots, but a lot of things would have to go wrong for them to lose this division.
As I was preparing for this episode, I looked at the strength of schedules for each of these four teams, and how they did it was based on the win percentage of the teams that they played against from last year. So you have the Patriots and the Jets tied for the 27th strength of schedule. The Bills have the 24th ranked strength of schedule, and the Miami Dolphins have the 18th ranked of schedule. Dave, you made a lot of points, but Dallas, I got to go with you because I'm gonna give you the Dolphins' first 4 games. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Home against Baltimore, home against New England, at Dallas, home to the Chargers.
Yeah, that's a lot of interceptions.
Yeah.
Whoever starts under center, that's a lot of interception.
Yeah, no, like hearing those games out loud, it's probably not going to be pretty from the start.
You're looking at 6 minimum, and that's like walking out good. Whoever starts. So, I mean, that you're looking at 1-3 at the best. And I don't even know who they would catch for that one. Maybe Dallas, and we get into why in the other part, but like maybe them, and that's if they're like not at full strength. And even then, they have $100 million defensive end that's going to wreak havoc in hell. So that's not working.
The first quarter of the season don't look too good for the Dolphins.
And I mean, you have to basically, like last year is the point where fans probably had the most hope. When the Dolphins walked into that one game with New England like 3-1 or 2-1 or something like that. And then it was downhill from there. Like you got to come out the first quarter looking hot to even have a chance in the AFC East. Because the Patriots are guaranteed at least 11 games. And that's a bad year.
No, I definitely agree. But I think if any quarterback were to pull something, rabbit out of the hat, it would be Ryan Fitzpatrick because I've seen him do it for the Jets and even last year with the Buccaneers. But either way, I do think the Dolphins are going to finish last in this division no matter what, just because they don't have the talent. That's just it, plain and simple. And like you said, they're in a rebuilding mode. They have their new head coach, and they'll probably have some inconsistency throughout the entire season that will keep them from ever gaining any momentum towards having a winning season. So it's not looking too good for the Dolphins.
I would say this: the strength of schedule for the AFC East is kind of skewed because like they all play each other this time. So it's like that's part of the problem. Because if you look at New England, all the games, the key games I got from New England, Sunday night at home, week 1 against Pittsburgh, out the gate. They got to go to Miami. They struggle. They don't struggle against Miami. They struggle at Miami. They got Cleveland week 8. Everybody picking Cleveland to win the AFC North. So let's circle that game right there because we going by week 8. We should know what kind of Cleveland team we getting.
Yeah, definitely.
They ain't Baltimore Sunday night week 9. They got to go to Philly. They play Dallas. They go to Houston. That's another Sunday night game, and they play Kansas City.
The tricky thing about the Patriots is going to be they have a 42-year-old quarterback, and they have a rookie that's trying to operate within that side adjustment offense and is having a tough time. The Patriots are going to be leaning on their running backs to be the receivers and their main points of attack because it doesn't matter if they have Ben Watson coming back after a suspension, which, by the way, that is a key factor because Ben Watson is a very underrated blocker whenever he's at top for strength. And whoever they have, it's not going to match up to Gronkowski. They're going to lean on their backfield, which means that they're going to chew up a lot more clock than people think. The defense is going to have another de facto coordinator, but it's still Bill Belichick we're talking about manipulating and having control over the defense for the most part. The defensive coordinator for the 2017 Super Bowl is a head coach. The de facto defensive coordinator from 2018 Super Bowl is a head coach. I think Jerome Mayo right now is the guy who's pegged to be the de facto coordinator this year. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to translate to a head coaching job. But the thing is, like, if they pass to the running backs and short routes, if they run the ball, if Bill Belichick schemes up some kind of defense that just works well enough and bends but doesn't break, they can make it out of that 3-1, 2-2 at the worst. And again, like, you know, if the Patriots are 2-2 after a stretch like that, that's actually a lot of trouble for the rest of the NFL. Because that's a lot of offense they're about to face opening up the season. That's a lot of offense.
Yeah, and we've seen that, historically that the Patriots are slow starters when it comes to the season, that they really use September and October as a sort of testing platform for how they're going to run their offense and their team throughout the season. But, yeah, the pieces are still there defensively, and they just added Michael Bennett, too, which I think was an underrated trade for them. So I think that between him and Stephen Gilmore – and the Twins at cornerback, that they're going to be definitely one of the better defensive teams. And like you said, we saw it last year with Tom Brady. He was becoming much more of a check down quarterback to his running backs or to quick wide receiver slots to Julian Edelman or even Gronkowski in the slot sometimes. But I think they're going to really focus on their three-headed monster with Rex Burkhead, Sony Michel, and James White. And I do think that they're going to be, like they were last year, a really ground and pound team that's going to chew people up and make it hard for a lot of opponents. And at the end of the day, they might not have the most talent, even in their own division, but they have the most expertise and they'll have the best strategy. And Bill Belichick just knows how to win games. And even if they get off to a slow start, a 2-2 start, let's say, that's usually when the Patriots kick it into gear. So, I think the only question is, will Tom Brady be healthy and good enough for the rest of the season? And we keep on thinking that will be the end, but it never is. And I really don't want to doubt him until I finally see it with my eyes. So, yeah, it's a big question mark having a 42-year-old go out there because who knows, one hit and his career might not ever be the same. But that's even more emphasis for Belichick and the Patriots to rely on their three-headed running back duo and do short passes and checkdowns and be efficient like they were last year.
Now, real quickly before I hop on the Jets, there ain't been much talk about the Buffalo Bills. They drafted Ed Oliver, so they got a defender on the line. They also drafted David Singletary. Dallas knows about him from FAU.
Mm-hmm.
They got Cole Beasley from Dallas, so they got a slot receiver. Why not a lot of talk about Buffalo?
The problem is Buffalo is always like a top 5 rushing team, and they're always a top 5 defense, but they never put it together. Buffalo, drafting Devin Singletary, drafting the best one of the best defensive tackles, maybe the best, like when you're talking about pass rushing options in the draft, maybe that's Ed Oliver over Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams is more all around. But when you look at Buffalo, go back for the past 5 years, they've been good at running the ball. They've been good at playing defense. They were the number 1 passing defense last year. There's a reason why we're not talking about Buffalo, because Buffalo's been built the exact same way. The same way that they've been playing last year and the years before is the same way they played and the same exact way they were built in 2017 when they made the playoffs for the first time since 1999, and they needed a lot of help and a lot of luck to do it. The way the Buffalo Bills are going, that's why the Miami Dolphins decided to scrap whatever they were doing. The Buffalo Bills haven't realized yet that they're forever going to be a 9-7 peak team. and 9-7 is not always going to get you a wild card spot in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Just it all really relies on Josh Allen in the end because they, like you said, they have the talent on defense. They have the really good running backs, but can Josh Allen be that consistent pocket passer with, the rocket arm that we saw at Wyoming? There's no doubt that he has the athleticism and that he has all the tools to be a good quarterback. But if he cannot put that together, then they're going to have another 9-7, 8-8 season. And that's just what it boils down to. And I think that Sean McDermott will have a lot of thinking to do during and after the season if, let's say, that they don't pan out as they hope to, or they don't improve upon their record from last season. That will Josh Allen be the way that they go in the future, because they know that what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are, but in today's modern NFL, you still need that pocket passer, that really good arm at quarterback. So it's going to be all on the shoulders of Josh Allen this year. And if he can elevate his play, then they might have a shot at sniffing the wild card. But that's a big if for someone who had a lot of questions about his accuracy coming into the NFL.
Well, so Buffalo, they got to play New England twice. They got to go to Tennessee. They got to go to Cleveland. They got Denver coming up. They got to go to Dallas. I think that's the Thanksgiving game when they play Dallas. They have Baltimore on the schedule. They have Pittsburgh on the schedule.
I mean,
so you might be right. So, but
close games. But I mean, they'll lose them.
Yeah, I say y'all probably right. So I ain't gonna spend much time on that before we get out of here. Cause let's get to Gabriel's Jets.
Oh boy, yeah.
Y'all are tied with a 27 strength of schedule with the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Y'all got Le'Veon Bell. I believe y'all signed C.J. Mosley from Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
After Anthony Barr burned us for a week or so, but we rebound nicely. I like the C.J. Mosley pickup.
That was already meant about Quentin Williamson being drafted. Also, Dallas, they drafted Polite from Florida, so they got an offensive lineman too.
Again, how's Adam Gase gonna use his personnel?
But Gabriel, I hate to do this to you because this is the one thing I know about Dallas. Dallas, guess when they bye week is?
When?
4.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, sorry.
That's not the ideal place for a bye week, definitely.
They just got the first bye week of the season.
Yeah, that's not good. I don't think, because you want your bye week later on in the season.
You definitely do, but either way, they ain't do y'all no favor because you play Cleveland Thursday night, week 2.
Yeah, I mean,
y'all remember happened last time the Jets played on Thursday night football. I think Baker Mayfield show began.
Yes, we had players too on the Jets: a running back, a 3-4 defensive end, a defensive tackle, and a banger of a safety. Between their safety, Leonard Williams, Quentin Williams, and Le'Veon Bell, that's rough. You're talking about 13 straight weeks. Yeah, it's about 13 straight weeks of relying on linemen, a hard-hitting safety, and a running back to last the whole way through. And if you lose one of those pieces, the Jets are done.
I mean, they not going into their bye week unscathed either. That's week 2. The following week, they got to go to New England before they get their bye week. So you got Cleveland on Thursday night, and then you got to go to New England before you go to your bye week.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule right there to open up. It's going to be a real gut check right there. It's going to show if the new pieces that we've added, that if they can have any impact. I think that they will have an impact, but it's a very tough schedule. I think the biggest X factor and thing to look out for is the offensive line, though, for the Jets, because it was really dismal last year. However, Joe Douglas has done some things to help bolster the offensive line by signing Ryan Khalil out of retirement was very big, and trading for for Jonathan Harris was also huge. So, and also getting Polite. It's a very re-bolstered offensive line. So if they can help Le'Veon and Sam Darnold stay upright, then they'll have a chance to win these games. But if not, then I do think that the Jets might have a little bit of a rough time coming out the gate, especially with how difficult the schedule is with, the Bills, no cakewalk, Browns, and Patriots.
I wasn't done. That was just before the bye week. Let's get to after the bye week. The first 5 games after the bye week.
Yeah.
Philly, home to Dallas versus New England, Monday Night Football. At Jacksonville, at Miami.
Yeah, and then we technically go back home for the Giants game, even though we share the same stadium. But yeah, it's a very rough schedule. I don't know why it's ranked 27th. I guess that's because of last year's rankings and everything that got put into that. But facing the NFC East this year, and a really motivated, revamped Jaguars team with Nick Foles at quarterback, it's going to be rough, man. And it's gonna show with this new Jets leadership under Douglas and Gase, if they can, show that it's not just the same old Jets, and but it's if anything, it's gonna show that right away it's gonna be a real test, and if they don't get out of it.
Okay. You don't know this, but Dallas is a Jaguars fan, so week 8 I'm gonna circle week 8 on that schedule for you.
Definitely.
That's gonna be a good one. Didn't the Jets win last year, or did the Jaguars come back?
No, that was the game where the Jets head coach was pissed off that we went for 2 when we were up by like 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
Todd Bowles, man.
Yeah. God bless Todd Bowles.
Yeah. I honestly prefer Crazy Eyes Gase over him, but it's not too much of a difference in terms of the media perceptions on both of these guys. So
it's really weird though too. Before we stop, that we have 2 teams in the division hiring coaches from the division. I would think that, the Miami one makes sense because Brian Flores put on a masterpiece. I'm sorry, Darnell, but it was masterful what Brian Flores did in the Super Bowl. But the Jets hiring Adam Gase, Adam Gase didn't have all the decision-making power, but as a head coach, you have a lot of decision-making power. And in Miami, he got to, get his opinion and his point across, too. And when you look at the moves and just the overall way that the Miami situation was ran, I don't understand how going from Todd Bowles to Adam Gase works in the long run. And I think that people shouldn't sleep on the fact that Adam Gase was GM for 3 weeks and they hauled ass to find somebody.
Yeah, no, I think those are all fair points, definitely. I think the only thing that I would say in counter to that is that he has proven himself to be a pretty good offensive guy, and that's how he started really making a name for himself with that 2013 Broncos team that scored the most points. So the hope is that he can unlock Sam Darnold's offense and use him, because he is one of the best creative young quarterbacks. He can maneuver out of the pocket. He has all different types of ways that he can play, either on the run or inside the pocket. But if he can't do that, then it's gonna go back to Adam Gase and his inability to help build teams and mold quarterbacks. So he didn't have really much to work with, I feel, in Ryan Tannehill in Miami because of his injuries. But when he did have a healthy Dolphins team, he did make the playoffs in his first year. So that's the hope on the Jets side. But there is a lot of room for, him being overly managing on both sides of the ball and trying to have ultimate control and really interfering with Darnold's progression and the cohesion of the whole team. So it's definitely, a pretty volatile situation at the moment. And I don't think it's made any better too with the hiring of Greg Williams as defensive coach, knowing his history. So just in general, there's a lot of fiery names on the Jets staff. So it can either all go really well or all go really bad.
Well, that takes care of the AFC East. No need to do any predictions, I think. So, because if you ain't a fan of the other three teams, you pretty much picking New England. So
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, you ain't stupid.
Yeah, and I'm a lifelong Jets fan, but I'd be an idiot if I didn't choose the Patriots.
But as gave it a little bit earlier, we're going to end this part of the show. NFC East. Oh, this is going to be fun. But Gabriel will be back next week because we're talking the NFC South.
All right, yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Later.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? It's a long process. It's a hard, thought-out process. Yeah, I know. I was there. From March of this year, thinking about how I'm going to do this, doing all my research, trying to get everything right. What platforms can we use and how we going to record it and how we going to make it sound good and make it all this happen. And then I came upon Anchor. The Anchor app on my phone, the easiest choice I could ever make to do a podcast. It's free to use. You don't got to pay for nothing. You can record episodes whenever you're ready. You can edit it and then you can release them when you want to. And you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how you're going to distribute it on other platforms because Anchor has partnerships with Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Pocket Cast, whatever you name it. Because the Playmaker podcast is the podcast that I use. We're on all them platforms. We're on 9 platforms just by using the Anchor app. So pretty much all the questions that you have questions about doing a podcast, go to the Anchor app or go to the Anchor website, anchor.fm.com, and just search through it, ask questions. Because I tell you, a free app that does all this, there's nothing more you can ask for. I even got friends, they doing their podcast on the Anchor app. Faith Talk, you might have heard of it because it's very good. And it's great that it's an app like this, it's a website like this that makes it easier for people to do podcasts and do what they love best, talking about the things that they love to talk about. So give Anchor a try, see how much you like it. We'll love to hear your podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We back. Now we're going to talk about the NFC East, and one of the brothers is back. Ken Moore, what's going on?
What's up? How's everybody?
The logical one is here.
Yeah, unfortunately the other one didn't show up, but he'll be talking to NFC South with us next week, so we'll have him for that. But it's the NFC East and the Dallas Cowboys. Ken Moore's team won the division.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interesting stat that I got from somebody who was covering the division. There has not been a repeat champion since 2004.
Huh.
We have gotten it 2 out of the last.
Yeah, ironically, and that's going to transition discussion. What happened the one year y'all didn't win it? 2 of the last 3.
I think Philly won it.
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl. Yeah.
No, it was a big roster issue. Yeah, it was a big roster issue that they was going through.
I see what that was going with this. So since you want to go there, then let's go ahead and Ken, there's no Zeke. And look like there will be no Zeke until Jerry Jones come out them pockets.
I think it's just we got a little game of chicken going on right now. And see who's going to blink first. And, Zeke is under contract for the next couple of years, so doesn't really have as much leverage. So I just think right now he's going to eventually blink. I think he's going to be the one to blink, and he'll eventually be back in camp. I'm not worried about it.
Your response, Dallas?
Oh, yeah, Zeke has no leverage. And, this is the tricky thing because all the triplets right now, their agents are sitting here in a game of chicken with Jerry Jones, who fired a coach after winning 2 Super Bowls. Ezekiel Elliott has no leverage, not just because he has a couple years on his contract, but because, dude, Seattle just had a dude come out of nowhere and rush for 1,000 yards. The Denver Broncos just had an undrafted free agent make the NFL top 100 after rushing for 1,000 yards. Adrian Peterson just cracked 1,000 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, I don't know what they're offering him. I don't know where in the marketplace this deal would put him, But Ezekiel Elliott is not getting a market-setting contract right now with a CBA deal looming, and the fact that they have the fifth-year option and the franchise tag to work with. And on top of that, you can pretty much predict that Ezekiel Elliott is going to get around 700 touches over the next 2 years before he even makes it to a franchise tag situation. He has no leverage because running backs are just aplenty. A superstar over there in Louisiana, not too far from Texas, was drafted in the 3rd round. It's hard for Elliott, out of all the triplets right now, to get his deal and to win this holdout, which is even more ironic because he's the most important out of the triplets if Dallas wants to win and be competitive this year.
Well, no question about it. And, like you said, he is definitely the most important part of the offense. I think that's why that's his – if there's any leverage that he has, I think that's the thing that he's trying to stand on is the fact that he's the biggest part of the offense and he's the most important cog in the offense. He's trying to what makes everything go. So I think he's trying to use that as his, leg to stand on with negotiations. But like you said, the running back position has been so devalued, and he hasn't exactly been he's not coming off in terms of off the field, the stuff issues he's had off the field. That's another, chink in his armor against, in terms of leverage. So he really, I'm kind of surprised, to be honest, that he picked now to do it. After having a, questionable having some questions in the offseason, getting called into the commissioner's office. But I guess he's trying to strike while the iron is hot. So I get it in a sense.
That's where I'm going with it. You still got 2 years left on your contract. Possibly a third, because they can franchise tag if they feel like it.
Yeah, that's what I think he's trying to do is keep that. He's trying to get his money and try to get that money locked down so he doesn't get franchised, which makes sense. He wants to get a longer-term deal and come off his rookie deal.
I mean, a lot of people won't pay attention to this aspect too, but it's been Jerry Jones and whoever is running, the owner's name escapes me because we try to make him as irrelevant as possible, for the Cincinnati Bengals. Those are the two teams that usually take on and keep players with issues and try to work with them. And in 2017, Jerry Jones literally fought that suspension the entire year.
Absolutely.
In the midst of everything that was going on in the 2017 season, Jerry Jones stood behind a player who had noted issues coming out of the draft and basically made those issues come to life in the NFL. He wasn't an angel. He wasn't a saint. Like, Jerry Jones stood behind that man and fought for that man the entire year. This is also one of those things where it's like, dude, if there's one owner in the NFL where I would try to make nice with, if there was one owner in the NFL where the usual conventions would not work, probably be Jerry Jones. Skip Bayless says it a lot, but in Ezekiel Elliott's case, it's especially true. Dude, that team was built for you. Zach Martin is there for you. Tyron Smith is there for you. Travis Frederick is there for you. That stout defense and locking down a defensive end that can turn the tide and give you a short field, that's there for you. I don't know if I'll be holding out and training in Mexico, living my best life, when you have an NFL owner that basically ruined the entire season and exposed his franchise quarterback for you.
That's where we stand there with this Ezekiel situation. Robert Quinn is injured. I haven't got no update on that yet because I haven't had time to look at see what's going on with Robert Quinn. One thing I do like,
and it should be available for week 1. That's what I read.
One thing that surprised me that Randall Cobb is a Cowboy. That's a great pick. I can't say that's a great
pick. He's
an
upgrade over Cole Beasley, because Cole Beasley is that slot guy, but he's really just a move the chains guy. Cobb's a little better after the catch, running after the catch. So he has a little more playmaking ability. So I'm excited to see what him and Amari can do together.
Here we go. Dallas, you ready for this? The Cowboys have the 14th strength of schedule. Now, they got to go to New Orleans week 4 for Sunday Night Football. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot on the mind of New Orleans and the Saints, man, after what happened to them last year to the Cowboys. Oh, they got that bad man Aaron Rodgers coming into Cowboys Stadium in Week 5. Them Jets, we talked about earlier, the Jets. They got to go to the Jets Week 6. They home to Philly Sunday night, Week 7. Minnesota Sunday night, Week 10. New England at New England, Week 12. At Chicago, Week 14, Thursday night. The Rams are coming to the D-Town. Week 15. And Week 16, they are at Philly.
So basically, Dallas, New York Giants last year is now Dallas, Philly this year. At least what we thought in the preseason, Darnell.
Pretty much. Ken, that's not an easy schedule for y'all.
No question about it. But I think we have, once we get this Zeke situation taken care of, and, our defense is coming. The offensive weapons are there. So we have all the pieces in place to really make a run this year. And it's just going to be a matter of the off-field stuff. If that's really the only thing I can see being our downfall is the off-field stuff getting in the way.
All right. Before we get to the other team that's pretty much going to probably win the division besides the Cowboys, let's get to the other two real quickly. Dallas, you want to go Redskins or Giants first?
Let's get the Redskins out the way.
Redskins, they drafted Dwayne Haskins, but he's third on the depth chart behind Colt McCoy, who's 1, and Case Keenum, who's number 2. Make a note of that. They did draft Bryce Love. We'll see how he is coming off the ACL injury. There will be no Alex Smith, still dealing with that horrific injury that happened to him last year. On the bright side, Dallas, Ken, guess who has the 32nd strength of schedule?
Guess who doesn't have a left tackle?
They're probably the 32nd ranked team. It's going to be a long year for the Redskins, even with that schedule. I just don't see how they can be competitive. And like Dallas said, you got your left tackle holding out. So it's just, I think this is just a total rebuild year for them.
Now, to me, Dallas can tell you earlier when we was talking with Gabriel about the AFC East, I think the strength of schedule thing is kind of skewed because they're going off by a record from last year.
And teams improve, and you always have that team that comes out of nowhere. So that, like you said, it can skew that for sure.
And let's take that. Let's say that the 32nd ranked schedule. Let's say that it stays somewhere near that. Let's say that a lot of the teams don't end up getting better. You're talking about a situation where the owner overrode everybody to draft the third-string quarterback in the first round. You're talking about a situation where the tackle isn't even holding out for more money. He's holding out over principle because he had a cancer scare and your medical staff completely botched that situation. You're talking about a situation where your number one quarterback right now had a leg injury himself last year, which caused you to sign Mark Sanchez. And now the guy who got fired after 1 year in Denver. I mean, it just the whole situation from top down. It's like, I don't see it.
But check this out, then. Check out their first 3 games: at Philly, home to Dallas, home Chicago.
Yeah, that's the game. 0-3.
Y'all say 0-3 already. Week 5, New England.
Yeah, 1-4, maybe 0-5. Who's the 4th game?
At Minnesota. Oh, I ain't do the whole schedule. I just grabbed the key games. At Minnesota, Week 8, Thursday night. At Carolina, Week 13. At Green Bay, Week 14. Home to Philly, Week 15, and they finish off at the Cowboys.
When I say this, Adrian Peterson is going to have a 320 carry year if they actually want to be decent. They are not going to outthrow those teams. They're not outthrowing anybody. And they're not going to hold up against the pass. Defensive end is like running back, except a pass rusher is always going to get paid. It doesn't matter if you had 7.5 sacks 3 straight years. It doesn't matter if you were a rookie with 6.5 sacks, you get traded. If you're a sack artist that gets over 5 sacks every season, somebody's going to want you and somebody's going to give you the money. Ask Gerald McCoy. So, dude, they're not out throwing nobody. They can't there's not going to be a pocket lasting that long. Brandon Scherf can't do it all himself. So you're going to ask a 33-year-old running back to have 320 carries for you to have a chance?
Yeah, and I think at some, it's going to just be a matter of time, especially those games coming out the gate. They get off to a slow start. I'm sure the cries for Haskins to get on the field are going to be louder and louder. So I think if they get out too slow, they're just going to throw him to the wolves and just get him, accelerate his learning curve to get him ready to take over that quarterback position.
Speaking of waiting on quarterback to take over a new position, on the New York Football Giants. Eli Manning's still there, but they did drop a quarterback by the name of Daniel Jones. That was a top 10 pick. Now, they did draft Dexter Lawrence from Clemson, Dallas. I actually like that pick. They drafted DeAndre Baker, the cornerback from Georgia. I like that pick as well. But on the flip side, you traded away Landon Collins and you traded away OBJ.
Idiotic.
They signed. Landon Collins signed. They didn't bother to offer him a contract. He was a free agent.
Yeah.
So, you're putting the team on the back of Saquon Barkley?
Yeah. Because please go over the wide receiver situation. Tell them who they gonna throw to.
Corey Coleman is done for the season already. They don't know when starting Shepard would get on the field. They hope sometime at the beginning of the season with the dislocated thumb. I think is just the one.
Broken thumb.
They have another receiver who went down in training camp. Like the receiving core for the Giants is.
And Golden Tate is suspended for the first 4 games.
The leading receiver is going to be Saquon Barkley.
But this is what the Giants have to deal with. Week 1, they are at the Cowboys. They played Minnesota in week 5, New England week 6 on Thursday. They go from Minnesota to New England in a span of 4 days. They home to the Cowboys Monday night week 9, at Chicago week 12. Green Bay comes into town week 13, at Philly week 14. And then Philly finishes off their season at the Giants. So, if I must say, Dallas, I think Saquon Barkley might be in the same boat as AP.
Yo, Saquon better know that he might as well not even try holding out. I mean, he can, but it ain't going – bruh. He's going to have 450 touches this year. He's going to catch the ball a lot, along with having to run it.
Matter of fact, he was their leading receiver last year.
Yeah, him and Christian McCaffrey were running backs to lead their teams in receiving last year. So, bro, those two, I feel for them. I honestly feel for them because this Zeke situation, the Le'Veon Bell situation last year, bruh, it ain't looking good.
So that's the Giants, and there's one team left to talk about. Coach T, I hope you listen because you're going to enjoy this. The Philadelphia Eagles, they made the playoffs, even though they didn't win the division.
Mm-hmm.
They made it.
Got a game.
They get Aaron Sproles.
How old is that guy? My goodness, he's been in the league forever.
Carson Wentz throwing to Deshaun Jackson. Let that sink in for a minute. They drafted Miles Sanders from Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
So we could have 2 Saquon Barkleys in the same division. Because Miles Sanders ain't no joke. Matter of fact, he was right behind Saquon Barkley at Penn State, so he learned from Saquon Barkley. They schedule, however, though, looks pretty much like the Cowboys, to say the least, even though it's ranked 26. At Atlanta, Sunday night, week 2. Those games are always good. At Green Bay, week 4, Thursday night. At Minnesota, week 6. At Dallas, Sunday night, week 7. A lot of tough road games in the first 8, on the first part of the season. Home to Chicago, week 9. Home to New England, week 11. Home to Seattle, Sunday Night Football, week 12. And home to Dallas, week 16. So pretty much it looked like the first half of the season is gonna be their problem because they got a lot of difficult road games.
The schedule is not the issue with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's the fact that They've had a Hall of Fame left tackle, an elite right tackle that's just as good as any left tackle in the league, one of the best centers in the league, an elite guard in Brandon Graham, a wide receiving core that's really good at route running and is usually open, and a defense that overachieved, yet somehow, some way, their quarterback, the quarterback that they just paid, the quarterback that they chose at the end of the day, he can't stay healthy for 16 games. And when they made these runs, when they had the success as the Philadelphia Eagles, the team, they only had a quarterback that they had drafted themselves way back when in 2012 to help pick up the pieces. You're basically saying that the business model of the Philadelphia Eagles for the past 2 years has had a quarterback that was an MVP candidate at one point, have one of the best lines in the league, get hurt, and rely on your backup that you drafted. But clearly you drafted the dude in front of him because he didn't work out somehow. And that dude, ironically, is the one to win you your first and only Super Bowl in franchise history. Now that dude is gone. And you paid a dude that couldn't stay healthy.
No, I think that Dallas hit the nail on the head. Is that you have now they lost their safety blanket, and now you put the franchise in Carson Wentz's hands, and he hasn't proven to be able to stay healthy. So it's going to be a challenge.
So we did some social media polls for this division. Dallas, you want to go ahead and talk about what Twitter was looking like?
I mean, short and sweet. It was Philly by a landslide. Philly got 58% of the votes on Twitter. The Washington Redskins somehow, some way, got 33% of the vote. Clearly, their fans have a look.
That invalidates this whole poll.
I mean, of course, because you know what's coming, and that's why you feel some type of way about this poll thing. The Dallas Cowboys got 8% of the vote, and the Giants got 0% of the vote.
No, I mean, I'm fine with Philly being a favorite, but for Washington to be second, that's just crazy. That makes
it's Twitter. Sense. It's Twitter, though.
Yeah. So that's what we got to take this with a grain of salt.
And on the Facebook side, I got a total of 34 votes on the Facebook. 16 went to Philly. 11 went to Dallas. 2 went to the Redskins, and 5 went to the Giants.
Why did you do that out of order?
Those are all home. Those 7 votes for Washington and the Giants are all homers.
Like, seriously, people need to understand, like, no left tackle, no franchise quarterback, a 33-year-old running back, and Adam Kerrigan been on that defense for how long?
Yeah, and the lack of the franchise quarterback, who is he throwing to?
Good God. I mean, dude, like, okay, we got so Adrian Peterson and Vernon Davis are going to be your number one options.
Apparently, I don't think you do. Do we believe in Terrell Pryor?
Terrell Pryor, he's on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who Terrell Pryor, though? I mean, did something happen? I don't know. How the hell?
No, that's correct. Yeah, he's not there.
Yeah, you heard on that. Yeah, basically, it's either the Cowboys or the Eagles for this division. And Philly's the favorite. And it surprises me. Like, I thought it would be more closer than what it was.
If the Giants find a way to go 8-8, Saquon Barkley will probably be the closest thing we got to Gale Sayers since Rob Gronkowski.
He's the MVP.
Saquon Barkley can go the rest of his rookie contract, 5th-year option, franchise tag, suck the rest of his career, and he'll go to the Hall of Fame if history shows that he carried the Giants to 500 this year. Because it'll be all because of Saquon.
I mean, what more is there for us to divide in? It's the NFC East. It's like one of the most compelling divisions in the NFL. So, though we peaked champions since 2004, maybe the Cowboys change that and go back-to-back this year. Or maybe the trend continues and Philly takes the division yet again. So, who knows? But before we get out of here, Ken, football season is good, so you know that means fantasy's back, right? So, to get prepared for, fantasy and all your draft stuff, what are some tips you'll probably give somebody to get them ready for they drafting?
Well, two things. I would say make sure that you draft for depth. Make sure you have depth on your roster, because if one thing the NFL is sure of, and it applies to fantasy as well, is injuries. So you got to have a backup quarterback. You got to have your backup running back, your backup wide receivers, because guys are going to go down. And not only that, buys are going to happen. So you have to shuffle your lineup, throughout the season. So that would be my one tip, is to make sure that you draft for depth. My second tip would be is to make sure that you draft a franchise running back in your first 2 rounds. Because the running back and the quarterback, those are the two positions that I like to prioritize in my first few rounds. So those are my 2 tips for all you fantasy people out there.
Me personally, I like to go receiver, running back, my first 2 rounds. See how the draft goes, and then coordinate from there. Because depending on what type of people you're drafting with, your quarterbacks might get taken out in round 2. So that means there's some extra star power in the running back and receiver and tight end, because people trying to hurt and get these big name quarterbacks out the way. And most of the time, you probably don't even need a big name quarterback. So you have to set yourself up, running back, wide receiver first, and see how the draft goes from there, and then you know how to go from there. But that's what we got for today. We are finally back on the NFL. We already started college. We already talked about the ACC, defending champ Clemson, and the Group of 5, and we got a list out for the Group of 5. But Dallas, what can they expect from the next college episode?
Of the college one? That's a good question. There's too many conferences. What can I expect from the next episode?
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot more of that on the Big Ten from Dallas, because he's taking all shots at the Big Ten.
I mean, I'm not the only one taking shots, Darnell. Nobody voted for Michigan. Nobody. They voted for Michigan State over Michigan. All Michigan State does is get some kind of running back that was a 3-star and run the ball forward. So, I mean, Jesus, nobody has any faith in Jim Harbaugh to not choke.
What? That's that. And then on the wrestling side, hey, we have a Big 4 weekend. It is SummerSlam and TakeOver. But you'll get a little more information when we do the college podcast. Well, Brother Ken is back with us. We had Gabriel earlier. It's the NFL. We're rocking and rolling. Next week is about the South and Dallas's Jaguars. Be prepared for that. We'll talk to y'all next week.